Hi everyone, and welcome to the NinjaTrader Ecosystem Webinar Room. My name is Juanita, and I do work here on the NinjaTrader Ecosystem Business Development Team in the Denver office. We have a very special event for you today with Anthony of Verbal Journal Trading. I would like to mention it is important to understand that there are substantial risks in trading commodity futures contracts, and you should carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you and will depend on your specific circumstance and financial resources. It is possible to lose all funds deposited with your broker and could even incur losses beyond these amounts. Please inquire at the following link for a full copy of the CFTC risk disclosure or if you have any additional questions. This presentation is presented by NinjaTrader LLC, which is the technology company responsible for developing and supporting the NinjaTrader trading software. Brokerage-related questions should be sent directly to our brokerage team. We are very excited for this unique event in which Anthony will demonstrate the benefits of simplistic trade journaling. Thank you again for your attendance today, and without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome to the NinjaTrader Ecosystem Webinar Room, Anthony. Go ahead and take it away, Anthony.
Thanks, Juanita. Everybody hear me okay? Just give me a sound check real quick and we'll get rolling here. Sound good? Thanks, Jay. Everybody else is good. Let me ask this question. How many people have been to a webinar I've done in the past? Anyone? Probably a handful. All right. So I don't have very long webinars. I keep them short and sweet. We'll leave time open for questions at the end that you might have. I'm going to share with something, an idea I had a long time ago, developed it not too long ago, rolled it out about 6 months ago, and that's kind of where this all came about. And so NinjaTrader 7 or 8 this works on. I'm going to talk about features, but also the why you would use something like this. And hopefully everybody could see the Verbal Journal logo here in the first page. Just give me a yes if you're able to see that. Good. All right. This is a different way of presenting. So I'm going to talk about some of the surprising benefits of trade journaling. I'm not a guy that always been a proponent of journaling, but not a guy that could just write down my notes on a notebook and continue that routine. Journaling could sometimes be like working out. You know the value of it, but it's hard to stick to a routine. So in order to stick to a workout routine, you make it easy on yourself. You don't have to work out for 2 hours a day, but you got to sweat for 15 or 20 minutes and keep some sort of consistency. It's hard to do it until something like this comes along, where it's practical for those who already journal, but possible for those who don't, including myself. So in this probably 25-minute webinar, what could it do for you, what journal questions you could ask, and how the verbal journal actually works are the 3 things we're going to cover. Now, if you don't know anything about me, I started my career on the CME floor. Most of you guys are futures traders, so you know about the CME and you know about the Board of Trade. I was a clerk at the CME. I took trading classes on how to trade on the floor and then became a Board of Trade member. Traded Dow futures in 1999 and didn't trade very well. Ready to quit, leave the business, and had it not been for computerized trading, which was called electronic trading back then, and the transition the business and industry was going from the pit to the PC, I'd have been out of the business. Couldn't trade in the pit I was trading in. So I got hired, found out about this Chicago prop firm, outside Chicago actually in a suburb, International Trading Group. They hired traders. It was a 3-year contract. It was a 50-50 split. If you made money, you gave half of it away for 3 years and then 25% after that. It was pretty much the business model of prop firms. Didn't know what a prop firm was in 2000. And I was even in the business. And so many people don't know what a prop firm is today, and they're in the business. It's essentially the venue of professional traders. So I'd imagine everybody in here is either trading or trying to trade. It's a tough business, trying to get successful. Some are, some aren't. And many people don't know the true venue of where professionals do it. Football players play at football stadiums, right? Basketball players play at basketball arenas. Where do traders do it? Prop firms. What do we talk like, dress like, act like? What's our routine? Very hard to get your mind wrapped around that, especially in this day and age of the internet where you do a Google search and you get inundated with all the experts. I am not an expert. Experts are good at being exact. That's not what you're supposed to be as a trader. You want to be an expert? I tell people go become an engineer because you got to be high level of exactness or the building falls down. You want to be a professional trader, be good at being wrong. But anyways, that's a quick bio about me. I created this verbal journal tool simply sitting around traders in a prop firm and saying, wouldn't it be cool if I could click on the chart and this would pop up? You could record your thoughts, your ideas, close out of it, and dots and lines would appear. And the reaction was, yeah, of course, and everything else. Took a while for me to actually put the idea and implement it into something that is the verbal journal. We'll get into that right now. So first point, what can journaling do for you? And if you ask me a question and I don't answer it, I'm not ignoring it. I'll get to it at the end. What can journaling do for you? First of all, we all have new lessons. How do you quickly turn a new lesson into an old experience? We get hit with so much information and our mind is built to filter out most of it. Doesn't mean it's filtering out just the bad stuff, but we can only handle so much. If you're not documenting new lessons that you know are important, you're not going to turn them into an experience. Journaling helps do that if you do it. Sharpens your memory. Why? Because it just creates a memory for you. Allows you to, hey, listen, bad thoughts are important to document just as much as good thoughts. But you have to sharpen your memory, and you don't do that if you let your thoughts and your ideas just get spread out like a bunch of Lego pieces kicked out of a bucket. Another point, makes the most out of your day. So it doesn't just feel like another day. Say, that saying that has a couple swear words in it. How you doing? Same old, all that. That's crazy ways to answer how are you doing? You got to make more out of your day than yesterday, and that's different for different people. You got to document what you do, and you don't have to go crazy with it. And then it's proof of your progress, some marked progress. When I go into teacher conferences with my kids, I got 4 kids, all I care about is, are they improving? Is there marked progress from the last time I spoke to you? That's what's important to me. And it should be important to you with your own progress in life and in trading. Now, let's dig into what journal questions that you could possibly ask. These are general. Number 1, what could be your most important task today? Something simple, something general, and I'm going to show you how you could do this on your chart. It doesn't have to even be trading related. Just an important task you want to do today in trading or in your everyday life. I got news for you. As a prop trader, the owner of the firm said this. He goes, what goes on out there, and he pointed outside, affects what goes on in here. I'll say it again. What goes on out there affects what goes on in here. That's not relevant for accountants and maybe bankers, people who sell insurance, clerks, software developers. What goes on out there doesn't necessarily affect that much of what goes on in here. Maybe a little, but not a lot. In trading, everything that goes on outside affects what goes on inside, whether you know it or not, because we're in an emotional decision-making process where money is made and lost every click of the mouse. Simple things like, how did I sleep last night? I started doing this when I got the verbal journal. If I feel like crap, my neck hurts. I don't feel that great. Not getting sleep. You'll give yourself a better chance to get better sleep because you're recognizing it. You'll also see if it affects your trading. When I got this neck injury, and when it really bothers me, guess what bothers me the most in that day? The losing trade. If I felt good and I had a losing trade, I might not feel that mad. But if I physically don't feel well, it's going to affect how my next losing trade is, and it shouldn't. There's that relationship. You got to recognize it. After the day, what happened today? What'd you do good? What'd you do poorly? It gets lost if you don't document it. And you put it in a bunch of notebook paper, you can't take those words and throw them on your charts. And who's going to go back and read all that stuff? You got to make your thoughts and your ideas relevant so they could turn into success. Last point on this slide is what am I grateful for? If you're not grateful for something today, you better find, I don't want to say a new life or a new business, but you got to find something you're grateful for. Document it. It could be the smallest thing. It could be a random act of kindness someone said or did for you that day. Again, if you don't document these things very quickly, they get lost and you become I don't want to say ignorant, but oblivious to some good things that happened to you that day and you take them for granted. Next slide. If I don't tell you what this is, and many of you don't know what it is, then this webinar isn't going to go over as well. Here's just a simple image of a ninja chart. If I hold down the control key on my keyboard and I left click, a box called the dialog box pops up like that. I fill out the title, I fill out the color, I pick my mic, I decide if I want a line, I'll talk about this in a second, and I close the box. Once I record, make a note, talk about what I want to say, close it, and then a dot will appear, the color you made it. So everywhere you have a dot, you had a thought. Sometimes your blue thoughts could be bullish thoughts, could be missed trades, could be bearish thoughts. You can actually see yourself on the chart to see if your calls and your ideas are good or bad. Then go back and listen to the idea to say, hey, I'm having good ideas. Why don't I trade that side of the market? Well, my ideas are awful. Why am I wasting my time? You don't even have to sometimes go back in and listen to what you said to know how well you're thinking. Everybody cares about how well they're trading. If you don't know how well you're thinking, you can forget about how well you're trading because you ain't going to trade consistently. So let me open up the how to use it real quick and blow this dialog box up. It's got a title field, which simply allows you to type in a title you want to have. What's also neat is once you make a title and record it, it gets saved. So there's a drop-down menu, so you don't have to keep typing new titles. Generally, you're just going to have, I only have about 6 or 8 titles I use. I don't have to keep typing in the new one because it's already saved. I pick a color that I want. I decide whether or not I want to draw a line from the dot. My mic is generally always the same mic, so I don't have to touch this field. And I hit record, and I start talking. I start talking about missing a trade. Get it off my chest. You missed this trade. Why? Not because I hesitated and I had something to do with the last trade, and it was a winner. It was effortless, and I seen what I needed to see. I seen stuck buyers come in here, try to buy it. Market didn't rotate up. I was already bearish. That was my win moment to get short. I had my risk defined, and I didn't click the mouse. And the market broke 4 points without breaking stride. And I feel like crap. At least I'm getting that out there. Let me ask you guys this question. Put a yes if you agree. How many of you guys have had the feeling of hesitating and missing an entry, then chasing it, finally getting it at a worse location because you chased it? So then you get shook out, lose money, and it goes right where you thought it was going to go. And because you what? And mostly everybody's putting in yeses. Happens to everyone. Been doing it for 18 years. It'll happen to me. But it happens a lot to people who are hesitating a lot, allowing fear to make their decisions instead of some semblance of confidence and skill. So how many times do you feel like you're chasing the market, you catch it, you get shook out? So now not only are you right, but you lost money because you missed the trade. Now, if you didn't miss that first entry, it changed everything around. Instead of taking a loser and being aggravated, you took a winner. That's a 180-degree turnaround. Instead of losing $100, maybe you made $100. That's a $200 turnaround. I'm just throwing examples out there. So not only did the capital create a difference, but the emotion is 180-degree different. If you're not journaling when you miss a trade, you're not going to tend to chase and be like the rabbit being chased by a coyote. I got a wooded backyard and I got coyotes out there, and I actually seen a stray cat get chased up the tree. Cat didn't run around getting chased. He knew what to do, run up the tree, and he was safe. So the point is that don't allow yourself to chase, but if you don't get it off your chest when you miss a trade and you hesitate and say why you missed it and hesitated, you're going to tend to chase more and you're going to have that feeling. And nobody would admit that's a good feeling to have. It could be you're not focused enough, like Alex said. It could be that there's a little fear that crept in. It could be because the last trade you took was a loser and you don't want back-to-back losers. You took the loser and you missed the winner. Then you get mad and you start chasing because you just want in and you know it's going to go 10 points. And maybe it does go those 10 points, but you got in a bad spot and you lose money and you were right. You want to take this business into actually being wrong and making money instead of being right and losing money. And that comes back down to location. That's why I said earlier in this webinar, professional traders were good at being wrong because we're supposed to. And as a human, we're not wired to be good at being wrong. So we already got one big strike one against us trying to get into this business, because who wants to be wrong? Nobody. So why to use it? I always have to show this slide on my family when I do webinars, and it's because if you don't know the why, the rest is useless. That's me. I don't know if you can see it. I put a white circle. That's me in the back. It's my dad in the lower right. That's my brothers and sisters around me. I'm really not the tallest one, but I stood on my toes for these pictures, so they think I am. And he always told us, if you know how, you'll have a job growing up. But he said, if you know why, you'll be the boss. If you know how, you'll have a job. You know why, you'll be the boss. And I remember him telling my older brothers and sisters that, because I was the youngest of 8. And I remember him telling me that. If you got to know why, it puts you in a better position. So if you don't know why to use something, if you don't know why the market goes up or down, you're going to have a hell of a time stripping out randomness and executing. You're going to leave yourself open to being fearful, to second guessing, to being less focused, and everything else that makes you miss. So verbal journal. Number one, if you're not journaling, what it does is it gets you to journal because it's so easy. Secondly, it allows you to concentrate on missed trades. How many people in here, they have a statement, they might have some sort of tool that examines all their trades, winners, losers, average winner, all these great stats, and there's nothing wrong with that. But missed trades don't come out on your statement because you didn't take them. Missed trades don't come out on any kind of matrix that you might have to analyze what you did because you didn't do it. But yet missed trades are the most important part of your trading because of what you do next. Missed trades, and we could also put missed locations in there. You know, you didn't miss the trade, you missed the location, and that makes all the difference in the world. Even if you miss the location by just a point, makes the difference between a winning trade and a losing trade sometimes. Just because of the emotion. You're more emotional if you get long at 31 even instead of 30 even. Those 4 ticks might not make a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but emotionally you're a little frustrated because you know you could have had it 4 ticks lower, and then it screws up your emotional disposition for the rest of that trade. So your missed trades, an important part of what you need to document. Save time. What do I mean by that? Well, not only does it save you time because you could journal with the click of your mouse and audio, but you don't have to write and everything else. But here's how else it saves you time. Pre-market bias or your opinion. A lot of us have it. Some mornings I have one, some mornings I don't. A lot of people, when they get in this business, they think they have to have an opinion of what the market's going to do that day. And now we're in the middle or just the start of March Madness and college basketball. In fact, I stopped trading this afternoon and I put 3 live streams on 3 games that were going on. That was my workstation for most of this afternoon. A lot of times the markets slow up Thursday, Friday, and March Madness. The point is that you could, for a basketball game, do all the pre-market analysis, what's going to happen in that game. But if you're not good at understanding how the teams are playing once the game starts, you're not going to be any good at analyzing or, in this case, trading. You've got to know how to read real time. So if you are bullish based on X, Y, Z, well, is that being confirmed and where your good locations after the game starts? If you think that this guy has to shoot really well from the field in order for this team to have a chance, and he's shooting real well from the field, all of a sudden they have a chance to win. You know that because there's actions behind your thoughts. But what does it mean? What does it mean to save you time? Well, let's say you put a pre-market opinion of bearish at the beginning of each day, and every day, pretty much, the market's weak. That's great. That's going to give you confidence to say, why aren't I trading from that side of the market? Gives you confidence. Here's where it saves time. What if your pre-market opinion stinks? And you've got red dots to show you you're bearish and the market rallies. It saves you time because stop coming up with your pre-market opinion with the tools or resources you use. Saves you time and it allows you to stop beating yourself up efficiently. You'll actually have less effort and less time using something like this than without using it. Lastly, confidence. And this is a slide I did in my other event because it's an important slide because of the why anything and how important that is. But confidence. Everybody has fear. Fear is good. Too much is awful. If you had no fear, you'd have no risk management skills. You got too much fear, you're paralyzed, you lose your focus, and you find excuses not to take a trade. Here's another question. How many people know the feeling of finding an excuse not to take the trade? You would rather miss the trade than take a loser. You'd rather miss the trade than take the loser. A lot of people. You'd rather. How does it feel when you're about to take a trade? Let me word this properly. You're about to take the trade, and you feel like, I know what a winner feels like, and I know what a loser feels like. I prefer not to fail. And so that creates the justification not to put it on. And people do that in business, not just trading. They have an idea or they have something they want to do, and the idea, if it's not implemented, it didn't fail. But they're afraid to implement it because then it has a chance to fail, and they prefer not to deal with the failure. And you distill yourself down into that moment in a trade. You're like, if I miss it, I'll be mad. But if I take it, then it has a chance to be a failure, and that's not the risk I'm willing to take. Document it. Document. You want to fit the reason why I said, and Kim, you just made a great point, failure affects more than success. If you learn from it and you document, a losing trade is not a failure. If you took a trade and you blew out your risk, meaning I wanted to risk 6 ticks on this trade and I lost 6 points on it, then that's different. That's an error, and you got to document that. But you're supposed to have losing trades. You're supposed to be wrong, and you're supposed to be good at it. It's a marketing expense. It's the cost of gas when you have to drive to your office. It's the cost of your rent if you own a business. It's the cost of an employee. That's what trading losses are, if they're within the strategy that you're trying to implement. Fearful is okay. The roundabout way that what I'm trying to get to is fearful is okay, but too much of it. Fearfulness is okay. Too much of it, then you got to replace it with this word confidence. Confidence only comes from understanding something. That's it. If you watch a carpenter build a deck, it seems random to me. If I took the time to learn and he told me the why he's doing this and that, I'd get confident because I started to understand. You never get confident unless you understand something. And in trading, you got to understand yourself. You have to understand yourself. And too many people in this business do not understand themselves. And I'm not pointing at anybody in this room because I don't know anybody in this room. But if you're just looking at the strategy's fault, and it's about the style, and it's about the market, and it's about everything, and you got to understand yourself, where you're weak, where you're strong, play away from your weaknesses, play to your strengths. But if you're really not sure on what your weaknesses are, how are you going to play away from them? If you think your weakness is a weakness and it's not, you're playing away from something you shouldn't be. As I know this stuff from talking to traders my whole life, guys that were better than me, guys that were worse than me, guys that made a lot more than me, guys who lost a lot or made money but a lot less, all different kinds. And one guy I learned from was a terrible trader. I tell this story. We sat around a table every day, equity futures traders. We had our trades in front of us as far as what we did, and each guy would go through the 3 or 4 winners or 3 or 4 losers we had in a row. Just the runs, we call them. Talk about your runs. You had 3 winners in a row, talk about it. You only had 5 minutes. We go around the table. Paul, his first name, I won't say his last name. He'd be the only guy red on the day. We'd all be up 1,000, 3,000, 600 ticks, 5,000, all be up and up good. Everyone's green. Paul's the only one down. If you didn't know the results in the P&L, you thought Paul was up the most. Not only was he down, he was the only one down. But he would justify what he was doing, and you would think he did, but he didn't. And that's how powerful the mind is. He didn't know himself. He didn't know himself, therefore he's never going to understand himself and get confident. And that's the difference. So let's go on to the next slide. Here's I didn't want to have to screen share, so I just took a couple images and I'll walk you through it. This is actually a chart on Ninja. And by the way, this works on bar charts, every chart style. Just have a candlestick up. And like I said, the function of this is hold the control and left click. So let's say I do that. You guys could see the red dot. Let's say if I did it right in here, that's where the dot would appear after I'm done. So when I control left click, this dialog box comes up. I would type in there whatever it is I wanted to say. In this case, U.S.-China news came out at 11:47 Central yesterday. So I talked through what came out, what the market should do. I might have already been in the trade. I'd go back. I'm not going to do this necessarily as it's going on, but I document what came out, what created this break, put a color on it, click to draw a line, hit stop, hit close, and when I do that, the dot appears wherever I clicked. In this case, it's orange. And you put a line to it, the line will come out like that as well. I like to put lines on news events that drive the market up or down because they generally work as great subsequent support or resistance, the next way up, in this case, resistance. If you guys trade and had your screens open yesterday late morning Chicago time, we broke like this. This is the S&P based on U.S. officials saying that some Chinese officials are walking back some trade agreements and everything else. So they cracked them lower right here. They pulled them back, and then they stepped back all over them in here. But the point is, what happened in here? Did something happen? What was the comments? Where did it come out? Boom, that's all set and that's done. And if you click on the dot, it'll pull the dialog box back up. You click on the line, it'll pull the dialog box back up. You go back and listen to what came out if you wanted to. So if you click again, the box comes up, and it was another note that I had made. Longs stuck, maybe a good short. This is actually a trade that I missed. So I put that in, I record it, talk about it, close it, and the dot comes in. Right in here yesterday, I'm looking to play it from the short side because I know this weakness has a chance to have continuation. What I like to do might not be what you like to do, but what I like to do is wait for stuck buyers if I'm looking to play from the short side, and then assign my risk and take a shot. I missed it. But you could be darn certain I journaled it. Because then I'm not chasing and reaching because I get it off my chest. You'd be surprised how better you feel just by saying it. Talked to a psychiatrist when I was putting this together, and I just asked him, who does most of the talking when you're in a session? Because I've never been to it. I think when we were, when we were trading, we had a psychiatrist come in that worked with the top traders, and he would ask us a lot of questions. But I asked this other guy, just for research, I said, when you're in a session with a patient, who does most of the talking? He says, well, the patient does. Why? Because I got to find out the most about that individual, and by talking, they're getting a lot off their chest. So when you miss a trade, I don't know about you, but that's what bothers me the most. Aren't losing trades, it's missed trades. So just talking yourself through it in this case was everything set up that I wanted to see, but I hesitated. So I have that documented with different colors. I just put images on here for example's sake for this webinar. I actually make the colors of my dots teal blue because I don't like that color. So I don't want to have a lot of teal blue dots on my chart because those are all missed trades. I want to minimize it. So before I go into where you could get this, there's two ways to get it because I got a question about it. Any other questions, pop them in. when I do a webinar with Ninja, we did one, I think, Juanita, about 6 or 8 months ago, with people that actually come to this. Go to the website, verbaljournaltrading.com. There'll be a pop-up window. Sign into it because there's a discount code that you'll get, and you could use it. So the price that you see online is not the price you're going to pay. Sign up, a discount code will come, so you get it lower as a NinjaTrader 7 or 8. The other promotion I'm going to do is if you use 7 or 8, if you use 7 and you eventually go to 8, work for that too. I think Juanita just popped it in. Verbaljournaltrading.com. There's videos, how to use it, some of the things I was talking about. You could pay recurring every month or just buy the lifetime license. The lifetime license has that promotional discount code, but you gotta pop-up video should pop up. Pop in your email, and an automatic email will come back to you about the promotion and the code. If you don't get that for whatever reason and you have a question, email me, support@verbaljournaltrading.com. Juanita, if you want to pop that one in as well, I appreciate it. Support@verbaljournaltrading.com. So a couple questions, and if you got any more, pop them in there. But the John asks about they're stored locally, right? And so if something happens, you still have your files on your PC and they get pulled as a WAV file. So as long as you got the verbal journal loaded, you can load it as on many charts as you want. Those notes will pop up whatever periodicity or chart type style you have. So if you have some of the order flow add-ons that Ninja offers, candlesticks, bars, whatever, it'll place it time and price where you made the note on a different chart. If you don't want these dots and lines on a chart, you simply wouldn't load the indicator on that particular chart and it won't pull them up. Does that make sense? But the key to this is not, you guys are, I could tell by some of the comments and some of the ways you answered my questions that this is what I get from people, that they get into this business and they're first exposed to the indicators and the people that are going to make you all this money. Those are the people that are in front. Those are the people that you're going to probably see first. And then you get into some indicators and red lights and green lights, and you realize that that doesn't work. If I had a system that worked 90% of the time, I wouldn't sell it to my mom. So you get caught up into that, and it's not your fault if you have, because you don't know what you don't know. And you have to go out there and compare and contrast. This verbal journal is not that. It's not an indicator of when to buy and sell. It's an indicator about you and what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. And we go back to the missed trades. How different does your statement look if you didn't miss 3 of the trades you missed that week or that month? That's what to focus on. How different is your emotions if you hesitate less? What's going to get you to hesitate less? You think some fancy new indicator that's going to make your timing better and your fear go away? Doesn't happen. Most of you guys know that by now. It's just the idea of knowing what you're missing, because what you're missing, you already have, you just don't document it properly. And I get it. I'm not a big guy of writing all these notes down and having stacks of notebook paper. And that's fine if you got notes like that. You could transition some of those into some verbal journal dots, right? And be more efficient that way. And you could keep both. But you got your dots, you'd be able to go back at a chart and just see how you were trading just based on your dots. See how you were thinking. Here's something else that's interesting. Because we rolled this out 6 months ago, I'm getting a lot of feedback from people that have been using it for 6 months. They go, it's amazing how adolescent they sounded 6 months ago with their thoughts and ideas. They would have never known that had they not been able to go back and listen to themselves. Hey, if you're mad sometimes, let it out, record it, swear at yourself. You know, I tell people this isn't pinochle at the retirement home. We're trading here. It's about predator prey. So let it out if it helps you. But there isn't a guy in the prop environment that didn't have to collect his thoughts one way or the other because we had to share them either after each day or a couple times a week. Could be impromptu sessions. Could be the owner to say, hey, I want to talk to you about something. What were you thinking? You could have had a good day, but he wanted to know what you were thinking. People don't have that now, and they want to be successful. They want to be profitable. Let me flip through here to see if there's any other questions. There's some that I might not see. Yeah, 7 and 8. There's two different files, but if you eventually go from 7 to 8, you'll have both. Alexander, did I answer that question? How do I call it? You call it back by left clicking on the dot. Hold control, click on the dot, and the dialog box will come back up with the title you made it and your ability to play it back. Bill, you got to go to the website verbaljournaltrading.com and fill out that form, the pop-up form in there. Juanita popped in the link for that. Verbaljournaltrading.com. If by some reason or by some way, Bill, that doesn't pop up, you don't get the pop-up, email me support@verbaljournal and I'll give it to you. Let me ask you guys a question. If you journal, how do you journal right now? What do you do to document a journal now? And most people don't journal. I can guarantee you that. And I don't want to say there's nothing wrong with that because you got to have some semblance of journaling, but I get it. I understand why it's hard. It becomes a chore. It becomes a job. But what is it you do right now? What is it you journal? Not just what you write. What are some of the things you write in a trading journal? So a couple of people are talking about documenting their notes in a journal on Excel, the entry, the time, and a comment on each trade. News that came out. It never used to be for me, Alex, either. Never was a priority until I started doing it. And you see, like, the differences between the first thing I did to review, I literally, in fact, I put this up on the YouTube channel. I literally had a camera on my desk, and it was over my shoulder watching my screens and me trading, and obviously I could hear myself in the background. It was on my desk. This was like 2001. The one thing I figured out by essentially documenting the whole day, which was too much to document. That's why this makes short snippets and makes it easier to actually review. But I videoed the whole thing externally. The one thing I learned is how emotional I was, swearing and yelling, and I was still making money, but I was missing stuff to make even more. So when Anthony Drager watching, Anthony Drager trading, I'm saying to myself, get out now. Why isn't this guy not getting out now? Well, this guy was me. I was more objective because I wasn't as emotional as that guy. And it was right when I was emotional, swearing. And there were certain key words that you knew you weren't being objective. So I asked that question, and the people replied in the various ways that they journal, because you don't have to stop doing that. Continue to do that, but add this to it. And you don't have to record your whole session and go back and video replay. Too hard to maintain all that. Some dots you'll go back and listen to, some you won't, but at least you have them on the chart on different periodicities. Especially the in-trade emotion you might have. You put something on, you open up the mic, and you start talking to yourself through the trade, seeing how you sound. Alex, I'm not really following what you're saying. You're asking me a question or what? I'm losing the context. Bill, did you get the email address and the site? Let me know if you didn't. Yes, it works with an internal mic also. So if you don't have a mic plugged in, but you do have a mic, you have to have a mic, obviously, but an internal mic, it'll pick up. And like I said, if you have multiple mics plugged into your machine, it will allow you to select and pick up which one you want to use under mic source. Oh, that's good. So Verbal Journal will start getting you to journal, Alex. It'll start getting you to prioritize what's important. Another thing you want to think about when you guys, and then we'll finish up, if you had to explain yourself to a boss, the thing about trading is most traders have what? Segregated accounts, individual accounts. You're your own boss, and that's great. But because you don't have a boss, you have to put yourself in a position, if you did, and some accountability, would you be able to articulate your trades and what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong on a daily basis or on a weekly basis? Are you truly going to know what you thought and felt without listening to yourself from a week ago or a month ago? And that's the difference. Any other questions? verbaljournaltrading.com. Go to it, fill out the pop-up. I don't send a ton of emails out, and most of them are content-driven. Mike says he would buy it again if he didn't already have it. Mike, you bought it last time, the first Ninja webinar we did back in September, I think. And he says, great tool, still using it. But you guys trading is all about being successful, being profitable. And a lot of people get stuck and lost into the green arrow, red arrow stuff. They look at this for a second. What could I have done to sell it here? Well, you better know what drove us lower. What could you have done to catch this? Look inside and see what you missed, so you have a chance to miss it less. That's how your success grows. Because there will be no red arrow that slaps you in the face and tells you to get long or tells you to get short. I think you guys got all the info. Those watching it on recording in the future, support at verbaljournaltrading.com if you got questions, verbaljournaltrading.com. If you just want to go to the website, till the end of the week, good question. Through Sunday is the discount code good for, and it'll expire on Sunday. Yes, it's a NinjaTrader add-on, and it would work for 8, Mark. My pleasure, Bill. Glad you came. Yes, it does, Bill.
I want to give a special thank you to Anthony of Verbal Journal Trading for a great presentation. And for everyone who was in attendance today, you will receive an on-demand recording of today's event, so please keep an eye out for that email. NinjaTrader Ecosystem is pleased to sponsor these weekly vendor events as a value-added service for our clients. If you find value in these events, we hope that you will attend them on a regular basis. We would like to remind you the information provided in this was that of Verbal Journal Trading and not of NinjaTraders. All information was for educational purposes and should not be construed as trading advice. Again, thank you for the time you spent with us today. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to see you in future webinars. Happy trading from all of us here at NinjaTrader. Have a wonderful day, everyone.